Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And we are here at the beautiful A.J. Demers Middle School, located at 158 4th Street, and it is finally that night. It is the City Council debate night where we're going to be presenting to you a highlight show. At first, we're going to have candidates representing the 1st, 2nd, and 4th wards. And then in the back half of the show, we will have candidates representing the 3rd, 5th, and 6th wards. But we want to thank our sponsors because without them, we could have not put this through tonight. And they are the Mayo Square Taxpayers Association, Alessio's, located at 539 Park Avenue, the Shepherd and the Knucklehead Bar and Restaurant, located at 1313 Willow Avenue, TJ Fiorillo of the Prime Real Estate Group, and Fran and Augusta Prisgoda. Let's go right to the action with our first questions for the candidates. Let's get started with opening statements. Mr. Cordova.
I personally feel that the world has changed in a week, all that's going on. And in figuring out who I am vis-a-vis those changes, I figured it's not so much important who I am personally, that my name is Rafi Cordova, that I grew up in Puerto Rico, that I went to Yale, that I have the degrees I have, that I speak the languages. What is important is what we do for our community, and what we can, spend the rest of our lives doing.
I've been an active participant in our community for a long time. I've served as a leader in the Hoboken Democratic Party. I've been the president of my condo association for over a decade. I was a founder of a program to help Ukrainian refugees, and I've been an active volunteer for the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense.
My path to public service started with the Monarch Project. I led the community opposition to that now is actually going to be a beautiful park on the Uptown waterfront. And in 2014, I was appointed by the City Council to the Zoning Board, and in 2015, I was asked by Mayor Zimmer to run for City Council. So when I first ran for office in 2015, the words engage, inform, advocate defined public service to me. To be the best public servant and make Hoboken the best it could be.
The reason why I'm running for City Council is for two reasons, right? I believe I'm the independent voice, and I'm also the most experienced. I have, since 2009, when I was hired by Mayor Dawn Zimmer, I have about 350 council meetings under my belt, which tackled every single issue in the city of Hoboken. So that's where I have a lot of experience, not only in environmental services and health and human services, but the city as a whole. I am proud to have been the co-leader during COVID-19 operations. Okay, when you talk about helping the most needed, the most vulnerable.
And I'd like to just think back and imagine here, a Hoboken where we can walk on the sidewalk without getting hit by an e-bike. Imagine a Hoboken where elected officials serve their constituents rather than the other way around. Imagine a Hoboken where taxpayers are getting more for their tax dollars and getting even more services. Imagine a Hoboken where people don't have to worry about rodents running across the sidewalk or nesting in their homes as the winter months come.
I've tried to be an accessible, available, responsible council person, putting the people of the 5th Ward first. We've got unfinished business to do, and that's why I'm running for re-election. We need to complete Rebuild by Design. We need to be resilient with climate change, stronger, wetter storms. We need to get the job done. I've been working on Citizens Advisory Group since 2017. I chaired the City Council's subcommittee on Rebuild by Design my first year on the City Council. It's something that's important. We need to get it done. We need to protect our public waterfront. We've come a long way fighting for Union Dry Dock in 2017. Chris Christie made a deal with New Jersey Transit, no offense, Ed Reep, but he made a deal with New Jersey Transit for $1, and a lot of us went down to Newark on Martin Luther King Day to do our day of service at New Jersey Transit and stop that deal from getting done.
Currently, there is no effort in our local politics to find win-win solutions or a compromise. It is winner-take-all politics, regardless of who it hurts and how much it costs the taxpayers. We need to pivot from this brand of politics, and the first step is to get more independent representation on City Council. I will be that independent voice. My platform is about getting back to basics, fundamental quality of life issues, aggressively dealing with the rat crisis, clean streets, garbage removal, park maintenance, and building a community. That back to basics platform extends to the role of city council person, which is fundamentally a neighborhood advocate. I will be the neighborhood advocate that the Fifth Ward needs. I will listen and I will address resident concerns, always looking for win-win solutions, representing those who elect me first, the Fifth Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Giattino.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to the Pulse and Tap Into for hosting this evening's debate, and a special thank you also is in order for Alessio's, the go-to place in the 6th Ward, which consistently satisfies our taste buds, for sponsoring this event. I've been a proud resident of Hoboken for 25 years, sharing this wonderful city with my husband, Joe, our 3 boys, Joey, Jack, and Alex, and of course, my trusty sidekick, Jane. Over the past 3 terms, it's been my privilege to serve Hoboken. During this time, I've had the opportunity to establish strong relationships, not only across the city, but most importantly in my ward. These connections have profoundly influenced my dedication to Hoboken and fueled my unwavering commitment to effective leadership. I am, and always have been, an independent voice, unafraid to challenge the status quo and stand up for what's right. What I am not is a political figure.
Good evening. Thank you so much for our hosts for hosting the debate tonight. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm Lauren Myers, and I'm running for Hoboken City Council in the 6th Ward. I'm a lawyer, and I practice complex commercial litigation. I have experience working in the local, state, and federal government since a young age. I also have experience working for Democrats and Republicans and understand the importance of collaboration, negotiation, and working together to get things done. While I am new to the Hoboken political landscape, I believe that we need new voices, new energy, and a new perspective to get things done and improve the lives of our constituents in the 6th Ward. I am the person who will show up to the council meetings with questions, highlights, post-it notes on key provisions, and actively engage in the discussion to make sure that I am representing the interests of the 6th Ward. When I moved to Hoboken with my husband, Jeff, and our dog, Pensy, I was looking for a community and a place that we can settle down and put down roots. Hoboken surpassed all of my expectations.
All right, folks, unfortunately, we have to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, more from the first half of the Hoboken City Council debate featuring candidates from wards 1, 2, and 4. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B. and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com.
Many of Hoboken's homeless are helped by the amazing people in the community and the Hoboken Homeless Shelter. But amongst the unhoused population are some with mental health and substance abuse issues who camp in Hoboken's parks. How would you address this?
I think we need to focus on solutions that include beyond Hoboken. I'm supportive of within Hoboken, the efforts that we've made to hire members of the Constituent Services Office who are social workers, who are, as described, speaking to members of our community and finding out whether or not there are services available to them, whether it be mental health or substance abuse or economic reasons to get them on a path so that they're no longer experiencing homelessness. I think that's important. I also think we need to work with the county and the state to come together for a more comprehensive solution. because it's not going to, we can't solve it alone. So I think relationship building across those entities is very important for us to address this issue within our own community. I think when it becomes an issue of public safety, we do need to support our law enforcement officers in various capacities so that it isn't a safety issue for the community, which I think is the minority, but those are the various steps that we need to take.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fisher, 90 seconds.
Yeah, sure. So we have great resources locally. We have the Hoboken Shelter that, feeds 400 people a day, allows 50 people to sleep there at night. We have 2 great social workers. We have police officers that used to know the names of almost every single homeless person in Hoboken. It certainly isn't enough. Clearly, we need to take a compassionate approach, but we also need to look across our county. The county has a ton of resources, social services type resources, and we just need to better connect with them, and we need to make sure that we are getting our fair share from the county. Hoboken pays a tremendous amount in taxes, and this is a great way for us to better connect, get more resources to provide more support for the unhoused in our community.
Thank you. Councilman Ramos, 90 seconds.
I'm smart enough to know what I don't know, but I'm also smart enough to know what I do know. And I do know that the original solution of orange meters throughout our streets for people to donate to and a press release was not a sufficient solution to the problem. And that's why I didn't vote for a budget unless it included the 2 social workers for which I advocated for, and which is included in the budget, because I do not know how to connect all the services myself to the people that need them.
We should actually think about a new homeless shelter in the city of Hoboken. The city actually has land now. We just acquired it, the Academy Bus property, where we're moving our DPW garage. We'll have excess land there. We have the ability to build a new shelter with ancillary services, with services for mental health issues, for drug addiction issues. Those are the types of things that we need to do in the city. And if reelected, I will most certainly advocate to make sure we're utilizing that land to provide those services for our homeless population.
All right, folks, that was the first portion of the highlight reel featuring the candidates in wards 1, 2, and 4 who are running for the Hoboken City Council election this November 7th. When we come back from commercial, we are going to have candidates from wards 3, 5, and 6. You're not going to want to miss it. We will be right back.
Welcome to Hudson River Care and Counseling. Hello, I'm Dr. Pam Pater-Ennis, the CEO and founder of Hudson River Care and Counseling with over 30 years of clinical social work experience and therapy. We are a progressive counseling and coaching practice with a diverse team that brings a holistic approach to clients. We offer support both in person and through digital platforms such as telehealth. Consider us a safe haven that you can trust with care for your mental health needs. Visit our website to set up a consultation today.
Some might argue that the problem of vermin has increased since the introduction of street eateries and the addition of bioswales, which have created increased habitat and food access. What is your perspective on the issue? And if you disagree with this supposition, where does the problem stem from and how would you plan on addressing it?
A lot of people, our business community and visitors and residents enjoy having the outdoor dining, but we need to have it in a way that is clean and hygienic and rodent-free. So this ordinance that was just passed last month is a great step forward in that way. I also think that containerization has been a huge change in the culture of the city of Hoboken. New York City announced that they're going to start next March, to require containerization. The city of Hoboken started it last August. We're way ahead on that. It's not just a Hoboken problem, it's a regional problem, but we're on top of it. I've lived in Hoboken with my family for 36 years. Garbage night was a night that the bags would hit the sidewalks, and this past year we've seen rodents go into the bags. No more bags on the sidewalks on garbage night. Containers little towers dot the streets. It's a total different culture.
I also know there's a lot of business owners who do a really, really good job taking care of their parklets and mitigating rats. I think there's an example in the Third Ward that was featured, I think, in an article, Il Tavolo, a good restaurant, very, very good restaurant. Third Ward, they did a very good job with their parklet, mitigating rats. At the same time, though, I think there's another dimension here, which is parking. So as someone who wants to thread the needle on the parklet rat mitigation issue and the pro-parking side, I'll come down and say that, yeah, let's not have new parklets and try to phase out the existing ones, but have a way to preserve parklets for restaurants that really, really want them, maybe increase the price to have a parklet. And I think the perfect Hoboken will have only a handful of parklets, preferably at only the bars and restaurants I like. I'm joking, I wouldn't do that.
I mean, I've under the mindset what we should be doing is taking them down during the winter months, getting underneath and cleaning the streets, making that available parking for the people of the city, and then in the spring, they can be licensed and put back up that are road approved.
Just for everyone's benefit, the difference between a streetery and a parklet is a streetery is the turf that is directly on the street, and a parklet is the built structure. I believe that the Hoboken Business Alliance should actually go around and ask everyone who is removing their parklets why they are doing it, because I did that. And all of them say the same thing, rodents. It's not worth having that at our business. And you can look at the ones that are streeteries, they do not have the same issues. It's not a rat hotel, which parklets definitely are. And as for the bioswales, we're seeing the same problem in the bioswales. We'll bait one bioswale, CO2 it, the rats just move to the next one, and then it happens there. They all have to be done at the same time, or we're just giving the rodents the ability to move from one hotel to the other. So until we have that under control, until we have the rodent problem under control, we just cannot put up new parklets.
The administration and the city council did not act fast enough on our rat problem. While the ordinances that have been passed to date are helpful, it was too late in the game. And I think now that we have gotten involved, we need to see those play out. So like Councilperson Phil Cohen said, there is an ordinance that has stricter regulations about the cleanliness that was just passed a month ago. And I think before we have a ban on parklets, we should let that ordinance take effect, be regulated, be enforced, and see what happens. I think that parklets make Hoboken unique, and they're very helpful to families who have young kids, whether they have a stroller or you have an elderly grandparent here and needs more space. I think we have to be mindful to what our population needs.
I do think that the parklets were put up quickly and without the foresight or vision of how they would be cleaned underneath. And I confess that in the same situation, I wouldn't have thought of that either. But at this point, I think that any existing parklet needs to figure out a way where either the flooring can be pulled up and cleaned intermittently, or some other way to ensure that rats aren't living and breeding underneath.
All right, folks, when we come back, our final segment of the highlight show featuring the candidates running in wards 3, 5, and 6 in this November's Hoboken City Council election. You're not going to want to miss it. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there.
Where do you stand on Hoboken's rent control? Does it need changing, reform, or should it remain the same?
Thank you. Ms. Urtecho, you are first. 90 seconds.
Yes, we recently had a rent control ordinance that was vetoed by our mayor. It was a situation where we had what I consider a win-win solution. We had the rent advocate and the landlord advocate coming together and coming up with a solution for rent control ordinance. it was kind of mind-boggling that it got vetoed, and there is a lot of concern that we're going to end up in a referendum that could continue to deteriorate the already very fragile rent control ordinances we have in place. And I would hope that we could get back together as a council, as the city, could come up with a good solution, starting with that ordinance, so we can get something passed that can thread the needle between the landlords and the renters. It's a very, it's a balancing act. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Giattino, 90 seconds.
Thank you. I've said this before, rent control is such a touchy subject because it affects people's livelihood or it affects people's housing. And those are two things that everyone is extremely protective of. The current rent control ordinance that's in place blurred the lines between base rents and the surcharge under legal rent. And the amendment that was put forward that was vetoed fixed that by clearing up what the surcharge was. The current ordinance changed the time exemption to an exemption that could be interpreted as 30 years. The amendment that was vetoed removed that language that could erroneously exempt buildings for 30 years. The current ordinance, the current ordinance eliminates the legal rent control update that had been provided to the landlord. The fix in the amendment, which was vetoed, allowed the landlord to capture the update amount or a portion during the next turnover of rent. The current ordinance declared whatever rent the tenant is paying is the legal rent, and there is a calculation or update in the file. The fix allows tenants that were denied the right to appeal an update done for the landlord without their knowledge. In the amendment, they would be allowed to do that. There's a lot more problems in this current rent control ordinance.
I'm in favor of rent control and believe that there should be a cap on how much landlords can raise the rent each year. And I think we need to make sure that Hoboken stays affordable for our residents who are renting apartments. I lived at the Rivington, which is a rental building, and the year I left, they raised the rent crazy high prices that almost pushed out a lot of the residents who lived there. And I was thankful that the city council and administration did get involved with that, but we shouldn't have to get involved after that's happened and after our residents think that their rent is doubling. We need to be involved at the beginning, and we need to make sure that there are rent control ordinances in place to protect our tenants. I also think that we need to invest in our division of housing. My opponent voted to get rid of the division of housing, but how else are our renters and our landlords alike going to know what the rules and regulations are? Because like we just said, they are very complicated. And so we need an office in the administration to help guide everyone in that process.
I think the mayor vetoed this so-called compromise because essentially it was going to be an opportunity for everything to go to market rent one time and then have rent control going forward. What did the city council do? We strengthened rent control by making the maximum rent increase 5% or CPI as opposed to 7.5% or CPI. Current rate of inflation, 3.5%. I'm fully in support of rent control.
The key to all of this is affordable housing. We need to complete the Housing Authority project, not only to provide better living standards for some of our most vulnerable in our community, but also that project is going to bring with it some additional market rate housing and affordable housing. If the government doesn't step in and actually create affordability, then the market dynamics will get away from us, and we will literally, it won't be affordable for anyone.
I'm a full supporter of rent control. I think where I might take a little nuanced view of it is twofold. One, I think we need to put more effort into enforcement. I think the city's resources right now in terms of how it's staffed to enforce our existing rent control laws and to provide advocacy services for people who are, have a rent control issue is lacking. Two, I'm not afraid of the fight. I think we should strengthen our rent control laws, and I know Councilman Fisher voted against some rent control pro-tenant caps for increases because she was concerned about the fight that might come up if there would be a referendum on the existence of rent control. I think we should have that fight.
We need to enforce rent control laws and affordable housing, like they've said, but there are other things we can do. We can improve our public schools so that people are not obligated to go to private schools or other kinds of, out-of-state schools, like a lot of people go to New York City. We can make sure our public schools are taken care of. Transportation options, so that you don't have to have a car if you don't choose to. We can improve that so people can save money.
For me, rent control is important. We shouldn't have a referendum for it. We need to maintain it. But we also have to have a balance with those small homeowners as well. You constantly have to look at market conditions and making changes to the rent control ordinances. The other thing that's just knocking on doors, and it's not only about those that don't have enough of the funding or don't have enough money, but then you have another element in Hoboken. What's happening in Hoboken? You're knocking on doors, and you're knocking on these larger buildings where the rents are unconscionable.
I would look to basically take away some of the red tape so we can get projects moving. We can get more affordable housing. We can make sure that we can button up our rent control. I'm really concerned about the Union City lawsuit that was just settled, that's going to roll into Hoboken and change it as we know it. I am deathly afraid of a referendum in the middle of winter that's going to have vacancy decontrol potentially put towards the voter and could change rent control as we know it.
We've reached the everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die portion of our debate. Right? Everyone says they want affordable housing, we want to make Hoboken more affordable, but those same people that say we want all the affordable housing don't allow us to fully utilize all the tools in the toolbox provided for happening. And it ultimately comes down to math.
So the big problem is there was that veto of the compromise between pro-landlord advocates and pro-renter advocates. That came before City Council, that got a majority. It was vetoed. It would have given some concessions to the landlords, but it was vetoed by the mayor. It was voted against by folks who are associated with the mayor. And having read the article about it, the mayor said he vetoed it because he wanted to be more pro-renter. But the problem with that veto is now there's the chance of a referendum that's going to come up that could lead to, I don't know if the correct term is it will end rent control or it will further erode rent control, but whatever it is, it's going to be really bad and put rent control at risk.
As a tenant advocate and a commissioner on the Hoboken Housing Authority, housing is near and dear to my heart. I think rent control gets conflated all the time with affordable housing. I think we need to define that very specifically. Rent control is to control rents. It doesn't matter if you're paying $400 or $4,000 a month in rent. It is in place so that the protections are there so that your next month or your next year is not increased in an unconscionable way. There are solutions here. We need to sit down, we need to put them on the table, and we need to vote on it so that it's equitable across the board.
All right, folks, we really hope you enjoyed the 2023 Hoboken City Council Debate Highlight Show. And again, we want to thank our important sponsors for helping us put this on. They are the Mile Square Taxpayers Association, Alessio's, located at 539 Park Avenue, the Shepherd and the Knucklehead Bar and Restaurant, located at 1313 Willow Avenue, TJ Fiorillo and the Prime Real Estate Group, and Fran and Augusta Prisgoda. Please, folks, the election is Tuesday, November the 7th. Polls are open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go out and exercise your right to vote. All right, folks, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. I hope you have a great week, everybody.